Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the next installment of DEFCON Aftermath, or what I'm calling the Loop of Sacrifice. We're taking a look at Frisson Sensate's 801 trials. A little reaction video combined with some analysis of the statistics that were collected and digested and distilled using Sithlin's DPS tool in combination with Microsoft Excel, of course. And we're going to dive into this. We're going to focus in on what went right, what went wrong, which was a lot, and go over the numbers and see what it all means. So let's go ahead and jump into this nonsense. Taking a look first at the missions that we ran that fine day. Here we go. So Frisson, he was my Symphony control, empathy, ice controller that I am putting out there head to head with Ankh, my defender, who I have not yet run his 801 trials. And this is the second set of these aftermath runs where we're taking these guys and running them in high stakes, high threat Architect Entertainment 801 missions, 801 trials that are designed for incarnate level enemies. And so the design was we're going to run up to 5 of these missions with a time limit on each of them, somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes. Record the stats, crunch numbers, see what happens. And there are a couple fail conditions. One, of course, is your team wipe, which consists of at least if 4 out of 5 of your team goes down at any given point, it's game over. The other thing is if you time out of any one of your missions, so if you run past that 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it is, it also ends the test early. And so we ended up going through 4 missions, 100 total minutes. And we started with the 801 zeros, then went to 5, 6, and 7. And these are all just random die rolls that are producing which mission we're going to run from the different tiers of difficulty. And they get progressively more challenging, which mainly means that the enemies go from kind of your standard, bosses, lieutenants, that sort of thing, to just bosses, to only elite bosses, to arch-villain level foes. And they spawn full-size groups of those ranks of enemies. So anyway, we ran those, and we got to mission 4, and that's when we had our wipe. 18 minutes in, it was a full wipe this time around. There was no 4 out of 5, but 5 out of 5, boom, game over. The teammates I ran with, we had Arc Fusion, an energy tanker, Shock Splice, a regen tanker, Nate Shocks, an electric sentinel, and Guy of a Triform Peacebringer. And the stats that I recorded and the numbers I was crunching are using Sithlin's DPS tool and Excel, like I already said. Mostly looking at the rates, which are whatever that stat is that I'm collecting the data on per minute. So damage in per minute, that sort of thing. I'm also looking at composites, which are those rates divided by your teammates and those numbers distributed. What does their distribution plots look like? And then correlations. We're looking for any relationships between X and Y variables to see if there is some sort of connection between, let's say, time and the amount of damage you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the main goal here for this study. I'm going to compare these numbers from Frisson to what Ankh produces, having a head-to-head competition to see which one is better. And the first round of this, we had cold domination, and the controller won that one. It wasn't a huge blowout or anything like that, but it was decent enough. So we're going to see if that happens this go around as well. And empathy, because my assistant in all this, Chatty Cathy, ChatGPT, she is predicting a controller. I don't want to say sweep, but I think she's predicting 4 out of 5 victories in these DEFCON Aftermath 801s. But we'll see, because I'm not 100% sure that she is right. All right, so where we want to start is let's just take a look at our allies. And this initial part here is from the live stream I did for this particular video. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for just a little bit, because the initial part of this is when I recorded the power sets of my teammates, just so that you all know exactly who is on my team, so there's no guesses. You've already seen Frisson's build. If you haven't, go back and check out that video that I put together, as well as some solo testing. So let's take a peek at what our teammates have. So the first one here is Nate Shocks. Info. We've got Electric Blast, Super Reflexes, Electric Mastery, Vet level 13, Sentinel. It's our first official Sentinel. We've got Guyve. I've played with Guyve plenty of times before. He's playing a Peacebringer, and he's got his. I gotta see what his vet levels are. They gotta be like, I know they're triple digits. What are you, Guyve? Quadruple digits. Vet 1,446. Somebody needs to make some alts. All right, so Guyve, I think knows what he's doing. If anybody needs to know how to play a Peacebringer, ask Guyve. Arc Fusion, that's Apocalypse character Vet 33. He's built for the 801, and we're gonna find out if you're built for the 801. Mm-hmm. Powers, Energy, Aura, Electric Melee, Immu, Mastery. All right, and then Shock Splice. I got him on the video, so let me switch over to that. Now, I also record the video and post that up because the quality is just better from my own system than what YouTube's conversion is doing. So I got Shock Splice when he came onto the zone here. Rewards on team. Also, Shock Splice. I want to get his info. Vet 21, Regen, Electric, Energy tank. All right, so we got 2 tanks, a heat, and a freaking Sentinel, and I'm playing control slash buff. This team is freaking funny. All right, so there you go. That is our crew. Everybody's incarnated. Everybody's got vet levels, so everybody's kitted out as far as IO sets. So pretty capable team. I think I was chuckling a little bit. I felt we were a little low on DPS. Peacebringers can bring it. Sentinels, they can do some damage, but we didn't have like a bam, punch you in the mouth blaster type of character. We also had no other form of real support here or debuffing. Our tanks, they have some energy drain, I thought was something that they were leveraging. And then Nate is electric blast. We do have some end drain minus recovery. But really no other debuff. Peacebringers, they have minus defense when they hit. So a little bit. But overall, the team is not like super optimal. Oh my God, this is the perfect team you're going to go against the 801. So that's why I was chuckling a little bit. Because I'm like, oh man, they're relying completely on Frisson's buffs here to save the day. And now, at least that was my initial instincts. It turns out that we actually have a couple of junior healers on the team, as you're going to see. Now, what I do want to do is not run through the entire video over again. If you've already seen the whole video, then that's not going to be super exciting. But what I am going to do is go to the parts where the action was, where the bodies started dropping. I want to focus on the defeats and deaths for this particular run. I've done this before in a different one of these reactions, but I want to focus on deaths because that's where something went bad, right? That's where we have some learning from. Because everything was perfect and we kicked ass and nobody dies, well then there's really not much you can get from it other than, hey, great, we had enough DPS or something like that. So we want to take a look at the deaths and learn from them because we're trying to be successful at this. We want to get as far as we can. I'm also trying to get, my supporters to be as top notch as they can be. So I like to kind of go through these. And the other thing is that we've got 52 deaths, mind Freunds, in order to review. So there's going to be lots of learning to do because this is a record number of defeats. Now, I can't really say if this is going to be the record because this is only the 3rd character I've run through these 801s, which are way more challenging than the standard 54x8 stuff we did run in my DEFCON 1 series. But just to put this in context, if you added all of my DEFCON 1, DEFCON 5 is technically what I call it, the original version. If you took all 5 of those controllers, all 5 of those defenders, and added up all their deaths and their teammates' deaths, it's still less than the 52. That's how bad this was, or how devastating, how brutal this was. And even if you compare it to the other runs that I had for my cold domination, from the first round of this DEFCON Aftermath. I think it was 29 was the total number for the worst case scenario. So this is beating even the worst on the original DEFCON Aftermath run. So this is bad. We're going to get the focus on this and see exactly what happened. And I also have a little bit of storytelling to do as we go through it. So I think it'll kind of be a little fun if we just focus on, I don't know, the bodies dropping. So anyway, that's our main goal here. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna kind of skip over mission one, the 16 minutes, because spoiler, we didn't have any deaths. I didn't die. None of my teammates died. It was the presumably easiest mission we've run of the DEF CON series because they go from 0 to 9 and then from A to F at that point. And the zeros would be the lowest ones. These would be the so-called easiest ones. They're not like, they're still harder than a 54 times 8, in my opinion, but they are not as tough as, let's say, a 5 or 6 or 7. So this would be an easy one. Nothing crazy happened. So I want to jump right to mission 2 instead. And this is when we started having some bodies hitting the floor. So let me go ahead and cue that up for you. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. The funky music. Director 8. Accept the task. All right, so we've just finished mission 1. Jump into mission 2, and the problem kind of right away is we had the initial mission 8010, lowest, easiest level there is. And when I rolled the random number for the next one, we jump right to an 815. So again, I can't give you an exact percent, difficulty as you go from 0 to 5, but it's jumping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we're jumping up 5 levels essentially from the initial easy kind of, what was it, 15, 16, 17 minutes, whatever that mission was, to an 8015. So I was chuckling because I'm thinking we've kind of been lulled into a false sense of security at this point. And I think someone else mentioned it as well. And also just the map we get is not very fun. So let's take a look at that mess. Oh, stupid ass boat. Freaking hate this boat. So we get on the boat. I'm like ready to buff up. A couple of the guys are hanging at the door. And I think there was a little bit of hesitancy, a little bit of confusion, because I wasn't sure at this point, are the tanks going to go and pull stuff back to the little boat here? Because one of the things we've been doing and we've been, I guess, learning is that, break in line of sight is pretty much mandatory. If you just go into a group and try to, button mash, overcome a bunch of guys, you're going to get shot from every direction. And these 801s, they really like ranged attacks, and they have a lot of debuff and control. So if you just kind of hang out in the open like that, they can start peppering you from different directions. So what our tanks have been doing in these last couple 801s is they try to round up and pull groups and then break line of sight to bring the enemies in, and then we drop bombs on them, little kill boxes. So right now I'm kind of like, all right, what are we doing? Are we pulling to that location? I wasn't sure. I wasn't super worried about it, honestly, because the enemy was, there wasn't a ton of them there, as you just kind of saw. Right, they're in front of us. You can see them there. It looks like one spread group. So I felt like we could probably just go here and take these guys on and not really worry about aggroing another group behind them. It didn't seem to be that much of a risk. So I was kind of waiting to see what happened. Yeah, we gotta we gotta move it. And then the other thing that we're talking about is because the first two missions, the first two tiers of missions, right now I have them set as 30-minute time limits. Now this is based upon the cold domination runs where we were running typically about 30 minutes in the first one or two or three first two or three tiers of these things. So I'm setting an arbitrary 30 minutes, although I was giving us a plus 5 minute grace period just because you can kind of see, right now we're sort of talking, we're kind of farting around, and we've already spent a minute of our time. So I'm not going to count that against us. So I was giving us about a 5 minute grace period on every mission. So technically we had about 35 minutes. That's going to become important as we get into this mission later, because as we get closer to that time limit, people start pushing it because we're trying to stay under. Because if we go over the time limit, then my rules right now is, trials over, too slow. You dragging your feet too much. And that's going to help because it makes the missions less about kind of tedious mechanical, doing everything perfect and lining everything up right, and more of kind of realistic, getting in there, mucking it up, you know, and not just cherry picking all the scenarios and the locations and stuff. You do have 2 hours, but that's just going to be too long. And because I'm trying to do five of these missions potentially, you can't sit here and do 2 hours for each one. It has to be 10 hours. Nobody's playing that long. So we're trying to, speed things up, make it a little more exciting, interesting, realistic. Put the foot on the throttle, as it were. So anyway, figuring out what's going on. Giving us a 5 minute grace period. We have a 5 minute grace. All right, so we start buffing up, and our tanks go in. I'm still trying to figure out what about the other two. Where are they? They seem to be hiding back here to break line of sight. So I'm like, all right, are we breaking line of sight? Are we going to pull them back here? Are we going up? Where are they going? Work this corner. And part of this is because I'm missing some of the chatter that's going on in team because I'm also focusing on the stream and responding to people that are messaging me and making sure the stats recording, and I'm just focusing on buffing. So I'm not reading all the chat that they may be throwing out there. So if you are on my team and I seem to be ignoring you, that's why. It's not because I'm ignoring you. I've just got all these other things that I'm focused on too. So I'm trying to figure out, all right, where are they going? They don't seem to be pulling though. So I'm not sure why Sentinel and Peaceburger were hanging back there. I think Shock and Awe is gonna go off. He's too badass. And Shock Splice is just standing in there. So I'm like, all right. Up now? Cause I wanna. But I'm getting itchy. I want to attack. All right, so they're gathering. They're Yeah, they're gathered. Freaking controller's hunger. Yeah, I have a ton of cone attacks. I got like 7 of them or something like that. And they're all super long range, so it makes my job a little bit tricky because, well, first of all, I want to attack because I've got cones and they're all lined up. I don't want them all spread out, so as they're gathering up, I'm like, ooh, can I attack now? The other thing I want to do is make sure I hang back far enough that I don't overshoot and hit these guys because that has happened in my solo testing, and it may happen again here in this team stuff. So let's keep going. All right, so we start opening up. That first group goes down pretty quick. Now, one thing about this that concerns me as this is happening is I also am focused on the clock. And this is, I think I comment about this a little bit later, but I think we were too hesitant to slow on this upper deck thing. Yeah, I get there's risk, right? There's a group here, there's a group here, group here. But I feel like if we take, 2 minutes on these guys, 2 minutes on these guys, 2 minutes on these guys, 2 minutes on, by the time we clear the freaking deck, we're 10 minutes into it already, and we've only got 30 minutes. So I think this is where you got to also budget your strategy with urgency. And so my thought on is, hey, why aren't we just grabbing all three of these groups, or at least two of them? Maybe one tank grabs this group, one tank grabs that group. Let's meet back behind that whatever the hell that thing is in the other back of the ship there, wheelhouse. I don't know what it was, but anyway, let's meet back there. But instead we kind of tickle these guys, pull them all over, and now we're 157-37. We're still killing things, so it's taking us a couple minutes just to get one group. We don't have that kind of time. If we're taking 2 minutes per group and we've got 30 minutes, that means you can only have time for 15 groups of foes. And I think those of you who are experienced enough with these cargo ship maps know there's more than 15 groups on these maps. I mean, it's probably 30 or something like that. So you can't dawdle and pull punches. I think you need to take some risks. Spoiler. These guys are commenting about the length of my cones. All right, now we're going to get two groups. But I'm trying to play back, right? I don't want to cause too much trouble for everybody. All right, they're trying to gather this group up. I can unload. Can I do 3, 2, 1? Uh-oh. I'll back up a little bit for you. All right, they're trying to line them up. I like that they're lining them up here. Can I do it? Screw it. They're firing, I'm firing. All right, so check that out. So look at my cones, just the arc of this thing. So, I'm faced this way where the bulk of the enemies are, but my cone is over here hitting these guys. So my arc is just crazy on this cone. And so's the range of it. So I'm just hitting a ton of guys. If I moved a little bit further, I would hit these guys too. Maybe even this guy over here. Okay, it just depends on which direction I'm facing. So just huge range in the cones. Lots of enemies I can impact. So it's kind of, I have to be cautious. But it's also something that you'll see in the stats, I think, is notice how cautious I am being where I'm holding off everything. I'm holding off my attacks. I'm holding off my controls. I'm throwing a couple buffs out there because I'm being very cautious with the cones, and the team itself is being cautious. You'll see, I think my damage output, my DPM, damage per minute, numbers are going to be pretty low. And I was started to mention this, I forget it was in this mission or the other one, but a lot of the time I was feeling like a door sitter. I'm sitting here just waiting to do something, waiting for the lineup. And I wasn't actually able to attack or do something. And then, of course, when I did attack, it was being retaliated pretty quickly. So I was sort of just in a bad situation. I don't know if it was the maps, I don't know if it's the build, but I just was not having a good time with this character on these things. I'm trying to keep our guys juiced up. I mean, right now I've got fortitude on 3 of them. All right, so Nate's got fortitude. Arc Fusion's got fortitude. Shock's Place has got it. Shock's Place has adrenaline boost as well. So I'm getting the buffs out there on multiple targets like I wanted. It's just that your recharge isn't that fast that you can buff for the whole team and then go into a fight, right? Because that might take, I don't know, a minute and a half for me to cycle through the whole team. And they're not going to stand around waiting for a minute and a half. That's something else that I think the stats don't show the reality like that. Like when you're looking at your recharge on a power, and let's say my fortitude's recharging every 30 seconds or something like that. Hey, that's great, right? It's down from 2 minutes. But when are you ever 30 seconds? All right, guys, hang for 30. All right. Well, wait another 30. I got some more. Okay, give me another 30 seconds. Nobody's standing around for 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever, waiting for you to throw all the buffs on them. Even no matter how awesome your buff is, they're not going to wait. So that's something else to pay attention to during this trial. Because on paper, you're going, whoa, man, Frisson, he's got all these awesome buffs and stuff like that. This team's going to be freaking stacked. Only if, they're there when I can throw them. This guy over here. Yeah, we gotta move down this thing, man. And so again, you can see I'm getting impatient because it's 1:56. So we started this 4 minutes ago. We've been kind of fighting for about 3 minutes, and we've got what, three groups cleared? Maybe two. I don't know. Depends on how many there. All right, so now check this out. I am like drooling at this point because unlike the original group, right? Look at these guys. They're all just packed tight. Perfect, right? All I got to do is get a little bit closer and I can cone all of these guys at one time. I'm like, this is what we need to do. We need to push. We need to start clearing these fools. So you see Arc Fusion dives in. I buff them up. Oh, they're juiced up. Hit them. So I'm like, fire. Now what I don't see is what Arc Fusion's gonna do with them. Because at this point, I got controller lock. Oh, look at them. All they're juiced up. Hit them. Okay, check him out. He goes in there and grabs aggro. And I'm like, ooh, a big juicy pocket. Fire. Look at him, though. He's going back here. He's doing a pull operation. I didn't see it, and I'm not sure. I don't know. To me, it wouldn't be necessary. Hey, let's just jack him up right here. Had I known we were pulling him, I would have held off and then chased. But again, I didn't think it was necessary. I mean, Apocalypse did what he did for his own reasons. I don't know, but I'm just looking at, I'm just like, yes, pack, kill, fire. I can take them all. Boom, I start unloading. In goes Shock Splice, and I got two tanks in there. I did not even see Arc Fusion leave. And then look, there goes Shock Splice. He's leaving now. He dipsy doodles. So now it's me. I'm freaking launching cones. Nate's here. So's Guy. We're all firing away. They're pulling, I guess. But at this point, I've got like controls going. The people aren't going anywhere. And I don't know if anybody actually taunted or if they're just using their auras. Oh. So you'll notice I start taking heavy fire. I can take them all. It doesn't get any better than that. Oh, okay. I take it back. Boom. Done. All right, there it is. So Frisson's first defeat on the cargo ship came early, and it was a classic case of ambition outrunning caution. Spotting a tightly packed knot of enemies on the upper deck, he saw a golden opportunity for massive value, 3 cone attacks in quick succession. But in his eagerness to capitalize, Frisson outpaced the tank's ability to grab aggro. Though both were present, neither had fully established control of the pack. The result? A brutal counterstrike from the still reactive pack. First blood was drawn, and it was Frisson's. So, boom, it was that easy. I was hyper-focused on kill. The tanks did a tank and run, trying to pull back behind there. I didn't see them do it. I'm unloading. Now, what's interesting is obviously I got more aggro than Nate or Guy, even though they were also unloading on these guys. It's probably because I had more AoE that was just like punishing them because I threw like 3 cones at once. So boom, boom, boom. I get smoked at that point. Bam. Done. And it's it.
Oh, got greedy.
Now here's the effed up part.
God.
So Nate's over here. I still don't understand this. All right, so Nate teleports and starts reviving me. Then Guy teleports me, and then he starts reviving me. Now here's where I'm like, oh crap, because I'm getting shot because I got teleported right in the freaking fire. This is super dangerous. But you see what Nate done. Nate had gone into the back as well. Both Guy and I were still up front. So I don't know, I wasn't paying attention to that. I was not expecting it. I figure we're just gonna take that group right there because it was a large group, but they're all in one cluster. Let's just hammer them. We've got the firepower between me and Guive and Nate. You throw the two tanks in there to manage the aggro. Should be lickety split, kill them. But we didn't do that. We end up fighting these guys here on the side, defeating them. What's funny is they're like saving me more than me saving them. Still fighting. All right, so there we go. Now here's again something I'll point out. It's 154.20. So we've spent about 5 minutes, a little bit less, 4.5, just clearing the deck, and it was I think 4 groups, 3, 4 groups. All right, that's too slow with a time limit. This creates issues later in this mission. You'll see. So a couple of those things, I think we could have been more aggressive. I think you have to be more aggressive to clear these 801s in a more timely fashion. Now, if you're running the 2-hour time limit, yeah, it doesn't matter. But if you're trying to, hey, got this in 30 minutes, then we got to move. All right, so now the next thing is we go inside and we go down. TP crap happened before. Down the railing here. Now here's what's fucked up. Crazy.
What's up, Nate?
So I'm buffing guys again.
Know my role.
And, I owned that one. I should not have fired. I should have just played tentatively and kind of followed the flow. All right, so we're buffing up. But notice Shock Splice has jumped down already. So he's already gone in. So I turn, and I'm not liking what I see. So, kind of contrast what happens now to what just happened on the deck. Deck kind of slow, purposeful. So we've already got Shock Splices dive down here. Arc Fusion's over here. These guys look like they're getting alerted to what's going on. There's guys back here as well that are alerted. So I'm seeing at least 2 groups getting aggro. Now, I don't like this position at all. Yeah, this is just an ugly place to be because it's very open. Down here, you really don't have any cover. So where do you set up? Now, I know where they're going to go, but personally, again, and I'm just armchair quarterbacking this, I like to take this group first. They're fairly isolated. You can pull them maybe over here, kind of park yourself behind these boxes here and get some cover. It's kind of close quarters, but you can just get them over here. Over here, it's not as easy. There's potential for aggro from the crates on the other side, etc., etc. Let's see what happens. Yeah, see, the guys deep are aggroed. Shock Splices pulled them or something.
These guys are so tightly packed, I couldn't help it.
Here comes one group. Now, here's what I didn't notice. All right, so our 2 tanks have just taunted, right? There was a group here and a group here. These guys are coming in. These guys are starting to come in. And they have taken cover behind this crate here. Now, again, take a look at the position of this. I know these 2 guys are tucked in here nice and cozy. Cozy little tanks. But where am I supposed to go with this? Go back here? Maybe, but usually, almost all the time, this big stack of crates here, there's another group right around the corner here. And sometimes they can spawn and be over here. And these guys have pretty good perception on these 801s. So I was worried about that. If I go back here to park and tuck myself in tight enough, I'd have to be up in here. And these guys, if they're there, will see me. And now we'll have another group coming around the corner. Now, that was why I go where I go. But the other thing I'm just noticing now as I'm reviewing this is right here. There's a 3rd group right there, a patrol, it looks like, and they're coming through. So we're going to quickly go from 2 groups, which is, a little bit chunky. And again, contrast this with a deck. With a deck where we had multiple groups, and we're like, oh, we're going to take one at a time. Here, they're like, fuck it. They're grabbing 2 groups. 3rd group's coming. well, is this fight out in the open? Like, okay. So all of a sudden our style changes.
Guys, I
All
gotta
right.
get in there, man. Come on.
So I'm like, all right.
Don't go down, buddy. Don't go down. You got it. You got the shock.
All right. So boom, you see that? All right. So right back here is what I was talking about. I can see them. There is a group here. So that is a potential fourth spawn right here. So if I go over here to get cover, break line of sight, I'm almost 100% sure these guys are going to see me and attack. And now we're going to have another group coming around from the rear. So the only cover I have is this effing ramp right here. I can't get in close enough. So I'm trying to use this ramp a little bit to block, some of these guys from shooting. And then open fire right here with my cones. So I don't aggro these guys. I got some line of sight blocking here, and I can focus fire on these guys. But remember, I did not see that patrol coming here. So let's roll the footage. And it looks like Nate is announcing it right now. Huge incoming. But what am I doing? Here's the other thing about empathy that sucks. Is empathy as an empath, your eyes are just as much on this window of your teammates as it is on this action over here. Because I'm like, hey, who's taking damage? Who do I buff? Because remember, your heals for the most part are single target. Your buffs are single target. So I need to click on somebody and then heal or fortitude or whatever it is I'm doing. The only AoE heal I have is my aura, and I have to get myself right up in melee for that. And I don't want to get up melee with this guy. Forget it. I have cone attacks. I don't have much in way of defenses or resistance.
You got this.
So I'm buffing up shock
Give me
splice.
some candy. Maybe this will help.
Hit him. Boom. Right there, I unload. And because of the size of my cones, I am hitting targets back here that are part of that patrol that I did not see. So now I have just drawn aggro because I don't think the tank saw that group either.
Oh man.
Right there, I'm taking fire. I forget somebody's saying lures, so drop your pets. My pets are out all the time, guys, 24/7.
Dude, I'm so freaking.
I'm getting peppered from this patrol that just came. You can see their fire. Pew, pew, pew. They're all just staring at me. These guys are freaking coming right at me. There's nobody there picking this up. That's something else that I think you got to do. If you're playing with two tanks, it's a mistake, in my opinion, for the two tanks to be right next to each other. Uh, Except for once you've gathered the crap up, because your two tanks, right? They're the aggro magnets, right? And they're right here, 1, 2, next to each other. They are not seeing what else is happening, and there's nobody able to pick up this loose crap. I think if you're going to run with two taunters, which I think you need to, brute, tank, scrapper, I don't know, whatever. I think you need to have your one primary that's pulling. So your primary is over here. And then your secondary needs to kind of hang back a little bit. Pull some of this stray aggro if it happens. And then they can kind of join. So you got like two different faces for your tanks, I think. You got to have like your primary guys checking the main stuff. Your secondary tank is picking up loose crap. Like I would like to see my other tank maybe hung right here by the ramp, catching some of this loose crap that's coming. Right? Oh shit, there's a patrol. Let me taunt that, and then bring it over here. It We don't do it that way. Our tanks are pretty much playing. Here's the problem with the way these guys are playing. Again, I'm not pointing fingers. Just trying to see it in hindsight. Here is that because they're playing together, they're essentially the same person. And so, for instance, their taunt auras, right? Taunt aura, they're overlapping. They're taunting the same people. Or if they're taunting, somebody nearby, that AoE taunt is taunting the same person. So you need to have your tanks using their aggro taunt auras more strategically. Like let's say one's over here, one's over here. Get these guys' attention. Throw your taunt over here to these guys, get their attention. Throw your taunt, get their attention, and then pull them together to get mashed. Otherwise, we've got all the aggro focus in one point, and anything that didn't get picked up on the initial sweep is going to start unloading on the people back here, like you see happening with Frisson.
I just can't even fucking shoot because as soon as oh my god.
Boom.
Glass cannon.
Okay, nothing I can do. So, the second defeat happened in the ship's first major compartment, wide open space with long sight lines and minimum cover. The tanks had pulled a massive crowd near a set of crates, concentrating aggro on what was meant to be a defensible position. Frisson, seeing the intensity of the brawl, stepped up to lend control, firing off a barrage of cone effects to thin the horde. But what he didn't account for was how much of that mob was still loose. Enemies in the back, untaunted and untracked, turned on him the moment he revealed himself. Without cover and exposed across those wide sightlines, Frisson was shredded in seconds. Compounding the issue, the tanks were working too close together, likely overlapping taunts on the same enemies, leaving a whole flank wide open. Frisson paid the price. Boom. That's
Do anything. Like seriously, I go
and at this point, I think Guyve is running for his life or somebody. And then now we see Shock Splice is pulling over here. So here is what maybe I jumped the gun. Had I waited and Shock Splice saw this and picked it up, I'm not sure exactly what he was doing at this point.
fucking pasted. All right, let me get up.
Now he's getting it worked. I res myself. I got this healer guy here. Look, we got guys behind us. Guys went up the ramp. Shock Splice is taking a beating. So I'm like, I gotta try to help him, right?
It's all good. It's all good, you guys. It's all good. Hold on.
Shock Splice is getting killed. Let me get up.
Get some freaking pets out.
Getting my own pets out.
Oh, can you guys buff me? It's like I ate Skittles and everything. Hell, I might be running my second empathy after this tonight.
Yeah, I was looking at this going, man, this is gonna be a wipe.
It's like I can't. If I attack, I just get freaking slaughtered.
Yeah, it's one thing in mission one was showing me is every time I would attack, like these cones, I was guaranteed to aggro somebody that the tank said and picked up, and they would start firing back at me. And this is where I'm like, this is where if you have like your non-tanky people, like your blast or whatever, they also have some debuff or something. That really helps.
I gotta figure out how.
But remember our other two, Nate and Guyve, they're not drawn aggro with like debuffs really.
That's not tiptoeing up.
They don't have any their own little controls really that are gonna chip in.
Should I just play buff bitch? I don't want to.
So that became the question is do I just focus on my buffs and heal? Because every time I'm trying to control, I'm getting freaking punished and I don't have much in the way of my own survivability. So if I just play buff, then what was the point of even having controls?
If I'm reduced to these two powers, we're screwed.
All right, so I think we start getting things together, clearing some groups, doing pretty good. Okay, we figured it out. Clear this compartment. All's good. Let's back up a little bit. So we clear that.
We gotta do something, you guys. We gotta get some O.
Yeah, so I just put my pets on aggressive because now I don't want to put my pets on aggressive because they can aggro. But at this point, I mean, I can't do much attacking without drawing aggro, so maybe my pets can give me some offense. Now we cleared the first compartment, and now we're moving in that hall between. So we got the first big compartments over here. The next big compartment's over here. We're moving through that hall between, and then there's that little door here. I see my tank shock splice is pausing here, so I assume there's something right around the corner that he is taunting or going to
Set up at all.
draw aggro. All right, here comes Arc Fusion. Yeah, here comes enemies. Can I hit them? Hit them. Now I like this position, right? The previous parts of the map were just too open, but here we go. We've got this, narrow little doorway here. Enemies coming around. I can unload into this fairly safely because I've got a lot of LOS blocking from the geometry here. So I'm just coning into these guys. Awesome position. Love it. No problem. So go. Throw some damage. Overpower. Containment. I guess maybe as long as we're like in a tight space, I'm good. Yeah, these maps were not friendly for us. Okay, buffing some more.
What the hell is that thing?
A little shade. Here come some more guys. They pulled another group in. Again, though, position's great. Going away. Now, another problem with me not being able to attack with my own cones as much as I'd wanted to is that also limits my pet. Because Reverberant, the Symphony pet, mirrors or echoes your attacks, your controls. So if I'm not attacking, controlling, it's not attacking, controlling. That's also going to drop my offense.
All right, start juicing them up.
It's like a repulsion bubble that's pushing Shock Splice away.
BF avoids the repel.
Yeah, if you got to break free, you can get past the repels. I notice I'm getting pushed.
Gravity distortion field. Brutal. That new patch.
All right, so we're clearing. All right, so we're clearing the second compartment on this boat. Only had a couple deaths. And I'm letting our beefy folk get juiced up.
Dude, Johnny on the
And
spot.
doing
You like that?
doing what they need to do in order to get the aggro locked up. Guyve almost bites it. Give him a quick heal. And then you heard me mention this earlier that Nate and Guyve were kind of working on their junior healing badge because both of them have heals. Nate has heals from his electric mastery. From one of the circuits. Electric Mastery has a heal. You just saw him use it on Guyve. Guyve has a heal as a Peacebringer. I think he's got a couple of heals, actually. Three. I think a self-heal, targeted ally heal, and maybe a PBAE. It's in human form, I think, is when he has access to all those. So they both do have heals. You've already seen them TP res as well. One thing Guyve wasn't having much luck in melee with his dwarf mode. He's just drawing some aggro. Frickin' Arc Fusion is like glued or something.
Gotta pour it on these guys. Yeah, that's gonna cost you 1 purple.
Huh. Alright, so we cleared that room out. Keep going. This is the next compartment.
So we just got to go balls to the walls a little bit here, guys.
Yeah, and at this point, we're halfway through our time. It's 42, so we've been in here 17 minutes or so. Again, we have a little bit of a grace period of 5 minutes, but we're about halfway through our timer at this point. Freaking fire. See, what I was running into, it seemed, is that all it would take is one or two guys loose, not controlled, not aggroed, or whatever, to the tanks, and they would just start blasting me, and I'd get destroyed. And all I had was my own healing.
Yeah, we got to push your luck.
That, and I had my unleash potential.
Yes.
Okay, moving into the next compartment again. Still moving.
Don't even try to come through here, guys. I'll wreck you.
So I'm having a lot of success whenever the map is condensed down to these narrow openings like that. So when I'm in a position like this, I can cone through here and trap anybody that tries to come through. So I was doing fine in those scenarios. I found it was mostly just in the open parts of the map where I was in trouble. So at this point, we're about halfway through the ship, and 20 minutes have gone by on the clock. So we still got a ways to go, but we're moving, a little bit quicker, not having any major issues. We've got another one of these perpendicular chambers here. So, you got your two compartments, adjoining compartments. Here's the little aisle there. We're turning here. I see shock splice again, similar setup to before. He's kind of hanging there. I just saw arc fusion go around the corner. Probably gonna pull, bring some stuff back. The rest of us are coming in behind him in position. We got this, no problem.
About under 20 minutes, so we still got about.
So here we are.
I'll give us about 15.
Okay, they move in, coming back. Get in position. Get some buffs. And boom, right there, you see it. Where did this guy come from? I think you know the answer.
Oh, shit.
There it is. Our first ambush of this map. Right there. So something in the room that we were just pulling from, I believe, triggers this ambush. You see Guy books up this way. But at this point, we're screwed because they've just pulled a group in from the other room, and now the ambush is coming from this room. So you are being squeezed in essentially a kill box of the NPC's design. I mean, where are you supposed to go at this point? Ambush. So I call it out. Nothing I can do. I'm getting peppered. I don't know why they're necessarily focusing on me per se, but boom, I get freaking destroyed.
Oh, fuck. Rear.
Look at all these guys coming.
Oh, fuck.
There goes Guyve.
Game over, man.
So Guyve and I both are going down. So Frisson, his third defeat. It wasn't because he overreached. It wasn't because he was getting too aggressive, but he was just, trying to be vigilant. Midway through this cargo ship, there's this narrow passage between two compartments. The team's regrouping. We're waiting for the tanks to come back from this pull. I'm holding the rear. I'm back there with Guyve, buffing, getting the allies juiced up. When it happens, an ambush strikes from behind. Radiation, energy beams lighten up the corridor. I spotted the danger. I shouted the warning, but calling it out was the only thing I had time to do. And those few seconds, I was cut down by the concentrated fire. There was no tank there, no meat shield to soak it up. Just my guy trying to hold the line to get the others a chance to do something. And then Guyve immediately after that, but the ambush didn't end with Frisson. Seconds after he drops, the enemy surges through there, turning that radiation-laced fury on their next vulnerable prey, Guyve, the Peacebringer. Still reeling from the surprise assault. There's no tank here to pick up anything. Guyve can't transform into dwarf mode. He stood for a second. He's trying to do his own heals. Boom, the damage smokes him. Second defeat, same corridor. Stark reminder that the 801s, a breach in the back line can unravel even the best laid plans. But of course, it's not over. Game over. With Frisson down, the back line's under siege. You saw Nate Shocks made his snap decision. He books out of their emergency teleport, flares. You see Frisson gets teleported out of the kill zone. Good move, but bad timing because the ambushers come after Nate. Come on. He doesn't make it. I get killed again. Now, I didn't count this one against me because I didn't have a chance to recover. But Nate, boom, he's dead now. There's another kill. Come on. That's ridiculous. All right, I'm getting fucking TP'd. We're getting TP'd again. This time it's Guyve. All right. Now he's going to res me. Get me up, coach. Guy's pulling Nate out, I think. Boom. And now Shock Splice is down. So, Guyve, he rallies from his fall, pulls off a critical double teleport, extracts both Frisson and Nate from the jaws of defeat. But the rear had stabilized. Well, the rear had stabilized, sort of, but the front is now unraveling. With his fellow tank still repositioning and the support trio momentarily disengaged, Shock Splice stood alone against the enemy's surge. The push was too strong, the numbers too many, and Shock Splice was overwhelmed. His defenses stripped, his line broken. The loss of the front sent shockwaves through the formation, forcing yet another tactical reset. Got another death. Okay, try to buff up. Guyve's back into the mix. Let's see if we can get Nate on his feet. Boom. Now Guyve is down. So even after a resurrection and heroic rescue, Guyve wasn't done. He sees the front line collapsing. Shock Splice is down. He charges in, or trying to plug the breach before the whole team's overrun. But timing's brutal. Frisson, Nate, Shock Splice are still recovering, still vulnerable. Guyve enters the fray alone, is cut down almost instantly. Desperate act of defiance. One that bought precious seconds but cost him everything. The Peacebringer falls a second time, this time in service of holding the center while the others regain their footing. Keep these guys in the fight for a second. Arc Fusion's going down. We give him some buffs. Boom, now Arc Fusion's down. As the chaos peaks, the final pillar begins to crumble. Arc Fusion, the second tank. He's surrounded. His defenses faltering under the weight of the enemy mass. Frisson, freshly recovered, seeing his allies falling one by one, rushes forward in a desperate bid to stabilize the line. But too late. Arc Fusion fell, overwhelmed and alone. Determined not to let the collapse spiral further, Frisson unleashes everything he has, a wave of cone controls to scatter and slow the storm. So I just start frickin' unloading at this point. It's anything I can do to slow him down. Boom! Down he goes. For a second, he holds the line. But there's just too many guys. The cooldowns run out. That grab shit's on me. Retaliation's coming fast and furious. Overrun again. Fourth fall of the mission. A chain of sacrifice with each link barely buying enough time for the next. Jailbreak. At this point, I'm figuring it's over because with both tanks down, Frisson's incapacitated again. The team has a choice: either flee or fight to recover. And once more, they chose each other. Nate Shocks teleports Frisson out of danger. Guyve, resolute as ever, pulls Arc Fusion to safety. Get out of there, man. Get out of there. I gotta get something. I gotta get up. What do I got? Hold on. Oh, I can't get up yet. Somebody's TPing me again. Arc Fusion's up. I'm up. Shock Splice is up. Give me something. We gotta Guyve is down. Bam. But those rescues are coming at a cost. Guyve still exposed from his previous charge, barely recovered. Enemy pressures never letting up as the evac pulses end. He's caught in a line of fire again. His third fall of the mission, and perhaps the most heartbreaking, the cost of keeping the team intact is mounting. That's bedlam at this point, right? Those freaking ambushes always do this. They start to break through. And I hate these unaffected crap. If something's unaffected, your power just shouldn't work on them. It should give you an error. Untargetable. Stupid freaking res crap. It's the same thing when you have like illusion pets. Alright. I'm gonna regroup. Regroup somewhere. Can't freaking type. I don't want to frick go over there, you guys. You're killing me. So, man, stuff is collapsing again. You don't have line of sight on you. Shock Splice is in trouble. Oh, shit. What the hell am I doing now? And I freaking misclick. So, we're trying to regroup. Fallback position. Shock Splice. He's under heavy pressure again. I couldn't reach him from line of sight being blocked. So, I had to just push in. Charging into the narrow, crowded hallway. Frisson threads the chaos to get into position. But the path is too tight. The enemy's too many. In the confusion, he lost orientation, misfired a critical heal, left himself completely exposed. He was instantly overwhelmed, dropped hard in the center of the melee. A fifth defeat, born of selfless intent, but undone by the chaos of the 801. And in the team's fallback corridor, Shock Splice buckles under pressure. I didn't have that line of sight to assist him. Packed tight, enemies thick. I'm disoriented. Miss the heal. Shock Splice follows falling Frisson. Boom. Brutal cost of mistimed rescue attempts is hitting the fan. We are dying over and over and over again at this point. One after another in a chain. God. Freaking misclicked. Son of a bitch. Give me something. Give me something. What do I got? I can't make anything. Get another teleport. Here it comes. Fucking nice place. Guyve's playing the freaking empath here. Guyve, get that guy off you, money. I need something. All right. Another resuscitate. Now, here's the thing I gotta say. I don't know if all this resuscitate stuff is cheese or not. Um, so here's the deal, right? Those are temporary powers that some of these guys are using. So I don't know if that's legal or not because obviously they're powers you have access to, but are they part of your toolkit? And we all have temporary powers of some sort or another. Like I've got inner inspiration, for instance. So I don't know if things like these temp reses that you can buy count. Now, the reason I didn't nix it at the start, because I remember, I think it was Guyve had asked if he could go recharge it. And the reason I didn't is because in this particular example, I know Peacebringers, as I mentioned already, have heals. And it's part of their toolkit. So part of that toolkit, part of Guyve's build, I've played with him before, is he does res people. He does play off healer, we'll call it. Convert to off tanks. He's playing like off healer. And the same is true with Nate's build. Nate, like I already mentioned, he is a sentinel, but he also has heals. He picked electric mastery and takes the heals for a reason. So he also is using some temp reses. So I think because, and this is my opinion, is that because these two characters are built around the concept of battlefield medic, even though it's not like part of their normal like empathy power sets or something like that, there are heals in their characters already. So the fact that they're then using temp reses to kind of fill out their portfolio, I don't think that's cheesy illegal. I would say, here's what I would say it would get illegals if everybody on the team is grabbing, temp reses, temp resuscitates, temp healing, temp all this crap, right? Just to stay alive rather than actually being part of your your build, your character, then that would be illegal. But it's something that, I gotta think about and I hate to have too many restrictions on this stuff, but you don't want to become cheesy because I do think if these two guys didn't have these temp reses, this mission, this trial would have been over on this map because you see how many times they've been, teleporting resing people. I've been res like 3, 4 times at this point by those powers. So, if they didn't have that, then I would still be dead probably, and maybe the whole team collapses at some point because they're constantly teleporting resing people. So I don't know. I don't know what exactly when something becomes illegal or not. It becomes abusive, obviously. That's an issue. But boom, up again. All right, I got to get our shit together. So we start to finally recover. And we were doing pretty good. That ambush just destroyed us. Enough of this crap. Okay, we get back in there. There's some damn pets out there. Buffing again. Come on, guys, get aggressive. Do something. We aggroed something, all right. And I think the tanks didn't even realize what had happened, that there was an ambush. I think they were thinking it was aggro. But sense of security that you're good. But it was an ambush. And all of a sudden, bam. So there's another example of you think you got things going, everything's fine, and boom, this 801 just smacks you in the face. So we've racked up a ton of deaths. And that's like the most deaths in, I think, mission 2 that I've. There's going to be more still, but. Close. As long as we don't go. But this was a brutal, brutal mission. Yeah, by the way, if audience, you guys chat. Chat, if you see us go 4 out of 5 and I miss it, let me know. Because that is the end of it. All right, so we cleared off the ambush, clear that room. 5-minute grace. And now here's our problem. You can see why I was saying we spent so much time on the deck and a little bit in that first chamber, but the deck especially, because look, we now have only about 4 minutes left on the timer until the 30 minutes, but I'm also giving us a plus 5-minute grace period. So we got about 9 minutes left, but we still have this compartment to do, and there's another one behind here, I believe. So we still have like 2 compartments to go. We've only gotten maybe 2/3 of the way through the ship. So you can't waste a lot of time on stuff. The ambushes already are going to set you back whenever they come, and there's ambushes all the time. So we're pulling again around the corner. So I got to... Again, see how I have to be hesitant. I have to wait. Can I hit him now? These guys are not coming back. Right, stop going, pets, stop going crazy. Ow, hit him. So I switch my angle so I can start blasting. I think we still have. I don't know where chambers we got this freaking boat. It's the last one? Nope. We gotta kill a bunch of people. So right at this point, we have to pick it up, right? We gotta start taking risks. We gotta start going. Can't be as methodical as we've been. Oh, dude, you're getting wrecked. Hold on, Shock. Ow, hit him. Again, I like these angles that I'm getting. Well, one problem the tanks are running into is because the enemies, they're like player characters, right? They've got debuffs. You can see all these patches from Trick Arrow, I think it is, like glue patches and crap. So when the tanks, do that pull and gather everybody in an area, they get stacked debuffs on them, just like we would do on the enemy. Damn it, I killed my effing pet. And I saw Nate having to teleport out a bunch. Gotta get aggressive. That's all we can do. Okay, now watch this. Uh-oh. So you can see that my cone from here I am. Okay, I just coned. See this guy right here. I hit this guy way back there. So that cone, I mean, how far is that? This cone just unloaded in here, and I hit this guy way back here. Those guys were not yet aggroed, I don't think, but after I did that, they were. So at this point, I just kind of,
Oh, fuck, I think I just hit those guys deep.
yeah.
Oopsie,
So I
sorry.
switch my position here so I can stay out of their line of sight.
I wasn't trying.
But immediately, look how much freaking damage I just took. Again,
Uh-oh.
all it takes is one or two guys.
I think I just hit those guys deep. Oopsie, sorry.
So the tanks didn't have aggro on those guys because
I really didn't
I was the one who hit them.
try. I wasn't trying.
Boom, 2 hits I just took. I'm healing
I
myself.
gotta get cover. That's exactly what I was worried about.
Nate's taking a big hit.
Should have called this guy overreach.
All right, so we're pushing. We got this. Clear that group. All right, here comes another group that we're going to pull.
All right, cool. Line them up, guys.
Good lineup. Hit him. All right, got it. Now we're going on. We got to get on to the next compartment. All right, so at this point, it's been 30 minutes since I started this mission. We're into the grace period now. We're into the 5 minutes. So I just say, hey, we got 5 minutes. We can do it. Let's go. We still have one full compartment to go. So we start all getting really aggressive. And one thing I noticed when we all just start going, we just start mowing people down. And I'm thinking, man, if we just did this earlier.
Off this fucking blue shit.
Okay, here's another example. Like, I'm not sure why. Like, we don't have time, in my opinion, to do this pull stuff. At this point, we should just hit these guys where they are because they're all clustered, right? They're all sitting right here. Let's just move up here into this position and unload. We just smashed the last couple groups, and we're on the clock, right? We got 4.5 minutes left at this point. We move up here and smash them. But what I see Arc Fusion doing is I move into position to unload. He's retreating, pulling the group. Again, under normal circumstances, that's fine, right? Let's pull them. Let's break line of sight. But at this point, we don't have that luxury. We don't have the time.
Oh man, he's backing it up. He's backing their ass up. Watch out.
And there's the debuffs here as well. Still.
We gotta push.
Another group is gathered at the entrance. Great positioning. But it's just a time thing now. All right, so we blast these guys. Now we move in. We're going to go take on the other group. Now, this group we're taking on here, the group we just pulled was over here. So I'm thinking we probably could have come in originally and maybe pull this group over. Now, here's where shit hits the fan again. All right, so we pull that group, kill them in the door. We then move in to take on this second group. But here's where we have a problem.
Oh shit, patrol.
Right there. There's a patrol coming around this corner. You see him right here. So we're clearing this 2 groups in the front part of this compartment. Just another group in the middle still to take care of. Another couple back here. We're getting really close to finishing this off. We still have about 3 minutes to go. But then, boom, a patrol shows up. And I don't think Nate sees him. Unless... yeah, it looks like Arc goes to intercept them. I thought maybe it pulled them. Guyve's getting hit. Switch over to Guyve. I'm getting hit. Now look, I mean, I'm getting hit. I'm not even engaging in attacks. But just like my cones have a good reach, they're blasting through too with their cones. I'm getting hit by this crap in the back row, even though I'm not even doing any attacking. And boom, I mean, Nate's dead in a blink of an eye. Look, he's at full. Gets bam, bam. He gets hit twice. He's done. There goes Nate. So there's an example how empathy just can't keep up, right? I'm sitting here trying to help Guy who's getting hit. Try to stem the tide. All right, Guy's in trouble. Throw some controls. Throw a buff on Guyve. Heal myself. Buff myself. Shock Splice is in trouble. Where's Shock Splice? Oh, shit. Nate. There goes Nate. All right, this is the problem with empathy. You can only, like, target one guy at a time. What are you going to do? Run up there and hit your healing aura? So Nate goes down. And, really nothing you could do there. I mean, we endured the ambush, that near collapse, the rescues going back and forth in a big circle, big loop. Finally get our rhythm going. We're regrouped. We're resolute. Surge into the final chamber. Momentum is on our side. Mission clock is ticking down. We don't have any time. We got to go. The push is aggressive. We're urgent. And then the turn, right? The enemy patrol is like they timed it. Reinforce that last mob mid-fight. Nate Shocks already stretched thin from his early resurrections, the rescues he was doing. He's caught off guard. He's flanked. He's overwhelmed. Second fall of the mission. Proof that in the 801, even progress can come with casualties. And then with Nate down and the final chamber swarming, I shift gears again, trying to get some healing going here. Buffing, like trying to keep Guyve alive. I'm getting shot. And then boom, I'm done. So I have to make a choice. Do I continue focusing on this guy who Guyve and I are originally fighting? Do I try to heal Guyve and Shock Splice and Nate that are all taking damage? Do I throw controls at the incoming patrol? Do I try to get Guyve who's over here? Do I ignore this guy? And at the end of the day, you're trying to do all these things, and with empathy, you don't have a lot of options. You can only do A or B. And as soon as I turn my attention from the guy that I had essentially locked down and was killing over there, he shoots and kills me. Boom. My 6th defeat. So with Nate downed, the final chamber swarming, I shift my gears, go into healing mode, try to lock some shit down, but too late. That boss that I had suppressed, he seizes the opening. As I toggle my focus and reposition, I lose sight of that threat for just a second. 2 blasts, pew, pew, raw energy slams into Frisson. He falls for the 6th time, caught between who he was and who the team needed him to be. A harsh lesson in the price of split intent under incarnate fire. Boom. Frickin' sneaky bastards. Sneaky bitches. There's Guy, resin again. Okay, man. We got like 2 minutes here. To do this. So stop. Okay, I don't even bother trying to like get my toggles on or putting my defenses up. I just started attacking again. So right now we need more offense than me throwing out another heal. It's like I had no choice. If I kept my attention on that guy that was shooting me, then I think we would have more deaths. I'd focus fire on the other idiots. So we got about a minute and a half left. So we got to push, push, push. Got about a minute left, guys. Minute left. I think there's 3 groups left. There's this one, the one in the background, and there's one around the corner. Okay, we make quick work of this group.
Okay, we got like 30 seconds. I think there's like 2 groups left. Let's see if we can take these guys out. Just freaking nuke their asses.
Like right here, this is what we should be doing more of. Just unloading everything.
Unload everything.
Look how fast we just destroyed these guys. Arc Fusion's pulling the second group. There's a guy loose on my left.
Oh, stop shooting me, you bitch.
And right there, boom. So there's a great example of all it takes is one guy loose, not under aggro management, and boom, I'm dead. He 2-shots me. So I'm always 2 shots away from death with these guys. Really nothing I can do. My controls, I got a double stack on this guy. So if I focus only on him, then I'm not focusing on buffing my teammates. I'm not focusing on my cone attacks, which are able to deal damage and suppress a whole bunch of enemies that are clustered. And I don't have a ton of just single target suppression.
Oh, come on. Freaking wind up.
Boom.
That's bullshit.
And by the way, here's something else that's going to happen that I would question.
Oh my gosh.
Is at this point, okay, so at this point, we're almost out of time, right? And I don't know if this is necessarily criticizing people or not, but both Nate and Give are playing this healer role with the whole TP res stuff. And at this point, we don't have time for that, right? I mean, both of them at this stage are teleporting and trying to res me. You just saw it again, the double teleport. That's taking, 2/5 of your team to do this job of trying to get back one person who's clearly the weak link. So leave me dead and go and finish killing the bosses because you're also opening yourself up to this attack. And so it's kind of the same thing with having 2 tanks. We have too many people trying to do the same thing, and it's costing us.
Bullshit. Oh my lord. Oh my gosh. I'm getting crushed.
Nate's teleporting. Now look, Give's trying to revive me.
Guys, stop. Just freaking back up for a TP and you're killing me.
Right. So right now, 3 of us are no longer engaged in fighting. And we have technically run out of time at this point.
All right, judges, I think we've gone over our limit. What do you guys think? It's like our last freaking group, though. All right.
All right. So at this point, we end up spending 36 minutes on this mission. And as I said, I had budgeted 30 plus 5 for the grace period. So we were technically done violating, done with trial. The mission ended because of the time. But I didn't stop it here. We kept going, obviously. Well, not just because. But the main thing is that these 30-minute timer rules, it's kind of arbitrary. It's kind of loose. I don't know if that's what I'm going to lock into. I don't have enough data points at this stage to say, oh yeah, 30 minutes should be plenty and Frisson just sucks. I can maybe retroactively do that if my other characters don't have this issue. But even, my cold Shimmer, she had, I think, clocked in at 32, 37 minutes, something like that on some of these early missions as well. So the 30 is just the loose number right now. The 30, 45, 45, 60. Just kind of give us a ballpark measurement, or at least a goal. And until I really lock that in, I'm not going to sit here and call it with this because I may end up going, you know what, guys, we need 45 minutes, just given the experience with these 801s. This is the first time I really tried them, so I can't say that 30 is a good number or not. It just sounded like a good number. So anyway, we don't end the trials. We continue. I've got the stats for where we're at right now. And we move on to mission 3. But we just had a whole crap ton of defeats there. It was like, gosh, how many total was that? I died 7, and we had 8 ally defeats. So it's a total of 15 in the second mission. That's the most I've had from these tests. 15 in one single sitting. That's just a ton. You can see that's going to get worse as we go. But man, that was just brutal. All right, that was mission 2. Hey, there's still 2 more missions to go. So let's go ahead and get to the next one. So mission 3, again, random die roll. We're going to do an 8016, another office map. And we're going to start to do the same kind of strategies. We got a warehouse, or in an office, we have a warehouse. And we're going to use our poles, gather them together, and start unloading. So in we go. I'm buffing as we go. I've got a couple of people with fortitude and adrenaline boost. Get my damn pet out. I like this long haul, though, for my cones, so I'm like, let's do it. So I can hit them from here.
I like when they're in this freaking tight hallways like this. So my problem is I got to put myself in the line of fire in order to get these cones to pop.
Mm-hmm. Now, the big thing here is there's no more lieutenants at all. It's just bosses and elite bosses. And then some of the bosses are able to summon henchmen, like masterminds.
And I think I only overshot one time that I ever saw. Nothing up there. But this guy is so tender, man. I can't get in harm's way at all. Let's pour some frickin' sugar on him.
It's great locations, narrow hallways, line of sight's blocked at the end. Just unload these cone attacks.
Hit him again. Oh, don't.
I'm loving this.
Oh, shit.
Okay, okay. All right, so now we get to the meat of this place. So I'm like feeling, I'm like, yeah, we got this. I'm starting to charge after Arc Fusion. You see the huge group of foes he goes
Look at me. I'm like, charge.
together. Now, mission 3, we have 45 minutes, so it's not too bad. All right, so here we go. We got this big pole planned again.
Come on, damn pets. Oh, shit.
But my pets are already out front, so they're aggroing. I'm trying to get them back. Diviner goes down. Augur's half dead.
All right. It's all good.
Now, this map is pretty small. The objective room is at the far end. You can see the glowing computers. Now, here's what I don't understand.
Even those NPCs run by like that. I think it's enemy.
Okay. See if you catch it.
Even those.
That's when I pan back. Right there. You just caught that, but there's a shot comes from the left. Okay, Arc Fusion goes in to grab the next group. Shock Splice is behind him. Shock Splice is backing out.
Run by like that.
Right there. The pet or somebody's been spotted. There's aggro from over here. I don't think our tanks see it. You can see here's Arc Fusion. He's taunting. Shock Splice is over here taunting or something like that. There's a pet up here. These enemies are coming this way. And we're starting to back out. But we've got this group that was just pulled, but then there's aggro from the left.
I think it's enemies. All right, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going?
Okay, so Shock Splice is in a terrible location right there. You can see what's happening. So he's got cover from these guys, but as soon as they come around, they can shoot him. But the other problem's right here. These guys are firing away, and they're hitting him from range. He's got no cover from them. And then Nate, I don't know if Nate didn't see it at all, but look where he jumped. He jumps right in the middle of it.
Oh, dude, Shock Slice just got worked.
Shock Splice just gets melted.
Left.
Boom. It's toast, right? Third mission's kicking off another warehouse. This time our rules are changed. No lieutenants, just bosses, elite bosses. We got the summonables. After clearing that entry corridor, the tanks move to contain a group in the next chamber. But without realizing it, they clipped some aggro from an adjoining room, and then the extra pull went unnoticed until it was too late. Before Frisson can get this warning out, the ambushers open fire. Shock Splice, caught flat-footed, he's obliterated within seconds. First death of the mission, and a warning shot from the 8016. And then with Shock Splice down by the surprise wave, the enemy force wastes no time. Their momentum carries them into Nate Shocks. Okay, I'm trying to get Arc going. Nate's down now. They just chased his ass and murdered him.
Fucking wrecked. I'd back the fuck out of there, guys.
So right now we have a split group. We got the two tanks up front, but the aggro has come around and some of it has come down this hall. Just took out Nate. Guy's being pushed back by it. I'm getting flanked by it. I'm trying to stay supportive of the tanks up here, but it's too much. They need to get out. My pets just got squashed because of that. Now we're going to have to hold this position.
Shit. Oh, come on.
And I just get freaking pulverized. There's no... Boom. We fall back. Defensible position, maybe. I step into action. Nate gets ported out. Shock Splice rebuffed. I start throwing my cones in there to slow it down. Blunt that rush. It works for a second, but then the enemy momentum just keeps going. They spot me, start unloading, I'm done. First fall this mission. 8th total. We got too much. Two groups are coming in.
I don't even know what the hell is going on in there. I don't even want to look.
I can't stick my head around the corner.
It's something going. I don't know what.
Two guys are getting hurt simultaneously.
My head around the corner.
Give Nate a quick heal.
All right.
Buff up. Everybody's dying. Let me unload some controls because, I mean, my heals aren't keeping up. Down goes Shock Splice. Down goes Guyve. I mean, what else can you do? I can either control or I can heal, and my heals aren't doing enough, so I have to start freaking controlling. Fallback positions crumbling. Frisson, he's freshly recovered by his awaken. I don't have time to breathe. Surge forward. I start hurling buffs onto the team, trying to hold the ground. The enemy pressure's not letting up. Shock Splice, he falls first, taken out under the relentless weight of those elite bosses firing. A moment later, Guyve is brought down, overwhelmed before he can reposition. but I'm not retreating. I step into the void left behind, plant my feet, and unleash just everything. Cone attack, cone attack. Just flood. It's trying to slow down this freaking wave. Buy some time to get my teammates up. Right? Shock Splice getting pasted again. Boom. There goes Nate. So, okay, here's another example of, I don't know if this is the best move or not. So we've got Guyve down.
Come for what I.
See if that happens again. Yeah, so Guyve and Shock Splice go down at the same time. Guyve is off to my right. I just saw him. And Shock Splice is in front of me. Now, Nate is holding the center. Best he can. Because right now it's just Arc Fusion out there, and Nate's behind him.
Come for what I.
Nate's unloading some of his electro stuff. I heal him. And then he's healing Guyve. So again, is this a good play or not, having junior healers? And I don't mean that in derogatory, terminology. But I'm wondering, maybe instead of these guys falling back to TP res or falling back to heal or whatever it is, maybe they stick in the fight longer and add offense. Because, when you're looking at it on paper, like, hey, Sentinel, I need offense. A Peacebringer, to a degree, offense. They do have natural healing built into their human form. But most people are looking at Peacebringers, blasty type of thing or dwarfy kind of thing. But a lot of times they're withdrawing from the fight to do defensive stuff, healing, rezzing, TPing, that kind of thing. I'm already back here. I can get Guyve. I can get Nate. But if they both are back here and I'm back here, then who the hell is supporting the front line at this point? Nobody. We've got Arc Fusion, and he can only hold so many guys. Now, Shock Splice is able to get back up. He does have a res and stuff, but he's gonna have to get it back up, retoggle all that crap. So I saw this multiple times, and I don't know if it's there's no way to know. Hey, if Nate stays in there and throws some more lightning, would that have made a difference? I don't know, but it's just something I was making note of. And now he's back in there. And boom, he's down right there. He took over 1,000 damage, 1,006. Now, again, maybe if he stood in his position, he might not have gotten hit. That kind of sounds oxymoronic or ridiculous, but maybe he would have been attacking and the guy who shot him would have been dead. I don't know. But he gets back into the fight. Pow, pow, he's dead. So, I don't know. You stay there and keep fighting. Go down anyway. At least take a few guys with you. I don't know. Shock Splice is getting smoked again. Get some heal on him. There goes Shock Splice. I mean, he's like up, he's down. Because he's getting back up, but I don't think he's getting a chance to retoggle and stuff. Now we're all getting freaking overrun. I'm getting killed too at this point. Now they're just broken containment. Arc Fusion, he's out front doing I don't know what. Guyve's the only one back here holding the line. Holding the line, being haha, sure. So I'm pouring the control, trying to halt him. Nate goes down. We try to hold off the storm. Guyve and Shock Splice get a second to recover, get up again, but it comes at a price. Flurry of Blast, Sonic Arcane, they cut Nate's defenses. He falls another time this mission. But we get a spark of a comeback. But Nate's down. The enemy's turning their full fury on Shock Splice, he who's still wounded, struggling to maintain formation. I'm throwing everything I have to try to save his ass, healing him, boosting him up, then face to face the enemy, I unleash my cryonic blast into them. Not enough. Shock Splice goes down again. His third fall of the mission, and now I'm fully exposed. I get blasted down immediately after that. We both fall at the same time. Watch this. There goes Nate. Shock Splice getting killed. I'm like, heal him.
Back in there, kid.
Fortitude his ass. Throw cryonic in there. Give him some damage. Boom. He goes down. I go down. I'm like this is it. Guy's running for his life.
Get out of there.
Guy's no. All right, here. I'm like, this is it. Here comes the 4 or 5. There's no way we're gonna make it out of here.
Dude.
Boom. But Nate, check it out. Nate freaking reses himself and gets he teleports himself out of harm's way. So bang, we're kind of back into it. We got 3 people up, but I'm figuring Nate's gonna die again any second. Guy's running for his life. Guy TPs me.
TP me. No. Oh, God.
We're way back at the beginning. All right, now I'm back up. So again, here's an example of, hey, is that resin power cheesy? Is that legal? Because it kind of saves, again, I won't say saves the day, but it gets me back in on my feet. Nate's down again. So with me and Shock Splice down, pressure falls to Guyve. He kites the enemy for a second, retreats far enough away to get a sliver of breathing room, and then Nate seizes that chance, res himself, gets back into the fray. Guyve, ever the junior supporter, I guess, teleports Frisson from the chaos, reses him at the mission's entry, and for a second, it looks like we might stabilize. But the 801 doesn't leave breathing room for long. A dozen seconds after standing, Nate is struck down again. His 3rd defeat of the mission, 5th of the trial, another act of defiance extinguished before it can spark. Dang, this is just getting brutal at this point.
Come on, give me something.
So I'm trying to recover.
Back in there, Guyve.
Get the kid up.
Dude, I got nothing for you. I'm not a reser. You're on your own.
Bang. So in a feat of relentless teamwork, Guy again pulls an enemy or fallen ally from the jaws of death, extracts Shock Splice from the front lines. I'm waiting there, ready my buffs and recovery. Nate reses himself again.
Nate's back in the fight.
Get preparing for buffs recovery. And then Arc Fusion. He's all alone by himself as I'm buffing these guys up. He's a wall of metal and flesh, but he's surrounded. He's being punished. Unyielding, though. His hold gave us, the team, seconds needed to regroup. And we did. And for a moment, it looks like we're going to rally. But fate and the 801 has other plans, despite the miracles performed to keep him in the fight. Poor. Oh, they get Shock Splice.
Arc Fusion's getting wrecked.
Let's see. All right. Shock Splice chucking his bomb in there. Dude, how many guys are there?
All right. Let's end this charade.
Bang. Shock Splice dismantled yet again. 4th defeat. 6th of the trial. And a reminder, in the 801, not even miracles are guaranteed. At this point, I've seen enough. I'm like, these miracles, they're not cutting it anymore. So I just make a call, F support, and just go into execution mode. So I just start unloading cone after cone after cone. Fuck the healing. Not waiting. I'm just going to unload pain. Boom. Boom.
Hit them all. Hit them with everything.
It's fire, fire, fire.
Pour it in there. Dude, don't shoot me at that screaming shit.
And there we go. For the first time in this mission, this is working. I'm unloading everything I've got. Shock Splice is going to redline, but he's not going to fall. Nate, Guy, they're joining the fray. The enemy's cracking. Their offensive is breaking. This ambush is going to come to an end.
Just blast them. Oh, I just got to pour some control onto these bitches. This one I wish I had confusion.
And there it is, man. This ambush is over. But, as you can see, this victory is razor thin. And I think at this point, Arc Fusion riding this high and this rush of momentum. He surges ahead, looking to press his advantage. He charges into that side room. And then, boom. Charge into the side room. Trying to get some more aggro picked up. And a single disintegration beam just ends his run before it even begins. A step too far. A second too soon. He is down and out. Bang, now we're in trouble again. We got Shock Splice backing out.
That hype train left the station. Get out of there. Reverby, come on. Reverby, get over here.
He's ratted. Now, I don't know if we need to be pulling them all the way back here anyway. I mean, if this side is clear, which it appears it is, we can probably just dip here, pull, and then hit him on this corner. So I'm not sure if that's what Ark was planning on doing, but he came screaming all the way back this way and got cut down. Because I think that's what Shock Splice is waiting, because it looked like Shock Splice was here waiting, and Ark just came booking back this way and was dead before his body even hit the floor.
We just saw the unbreakable tank get broken.
But hey, for Arc Fusion's benefit, that was the first time he got killed, and he was standing there strong for a while.
It's the first, ladies and gents. Remember your clicks. Yeah, keep your aura. Keep your toggles on.
All right, so we're back up again, buffing again, and Arc Fusion pulls that room across the hall. So he pulls this group that was in here that just killed him. And actually, did he pull both groups? Let me back this up again. Huh, okay. So, no. I see what he did. He didn't pull the deep left. He goes straight ahead and pulls the far group. And this reminds me of the cargo ship room. That opening chamber, because check it out. We got a huge group of incoming. And we've got a tight little nook over here for the tanks to get behind. But what position can I take? Because if I stay over here, I'll have great line of sight. But if these guys don't have complete aggro control on all these dudes, I'm going to get shot. If I go back here, where do you stand? Because there's no good way to block line of sight and stay at range and have, line of sight so you can fire your cones without getting too close. So it puts you in a tight spot, too close to danger. Now, if I was more of a melee control type, it'd be great, but
I don't like to get in a corner like this, guys.
exactly. So here it is. I gotta watch my cone attacks too, because if I overshoot, I can hit the guys in the side room. Now again, I'm not even attacking, but I'm getting shot. But I think it's just cone attacks are coming through or something. Or there's one stray guy. Keep my eyes on the guys to the left. Getting shot. Maybe there's one guy that's not under control. I don't know. Shot again. Burn.
Oh, fuck, come on.
Boom. That's it.
Lord. It's like I mid-animation, I keep dying.
Like, what can you do? Arc Fusion. Miraculously restored. Rejoins the squad. Pulls the next cluster of enemies to a defensible position. We hit hard. Fire. Fury. Everything we've got on these guys. But I have to be close. And for me, that's a fatal flaw. And so as I'm leaning in to heal and buff, I'm getting too close. I'm catching aggro. The enemy sees me. Whatever happens, I don't know. Volley of counterfire. Energy, flame, kinetic rounds. Everything finds a mark. I get burned to ash. 10th fall of these trials. A martyr to the very support role I'd once set aside to save the team. Bam, dude. Bloody. All right, let's keep going. All right, guess what? Nate's going to get me up. Another res. Okay, back up, get some cover.
Just hit me with cones or what?
Yeah, you better juice up, Nate. Getting a reverb. All right, so Nate and I are back in the tanks, firing away. Get this group cleaned out. And now we're going to pull the side room. Hit these fools. Okay, got some nice angles. Start pumping away. I don't know where Nate is. Oh, he's behind that pillar right there. And psh,
He got disintegrated.
there's nothing to do. I freaking hit him with a heal and he died anyway. Didn't matter. Down he goes again. 4th defeat. 6 of the trials. I was just maybe a second too late. I don't know. Another selfless teammate lost in a blink of an eye. Keep going with Nate down. Enemies closing in. I'm going to have to step forward, not to flee, but in order to fight. So I'm going to unleash some more cones. Let's see if I can buy some time.
Just trying to get you some buffs, and the next thing you know, you're just bleeding out.
Okay, let's pump them full of controls. Uh-oh. Don't hit me anymore.
Oh, come on.
Boom. Down you go.
Effing DOT is brutal.
Falls again. And as I hit the floor, Nate's back up. Nate's teleporting, and then Shock goes down. Right? Bam. Down again. Once again, Nate teleports me out. Emergency TP. But in that second, the front waver. So again, here's one of those questions. Hey, maybe if Nate stays in there to fight rather than teleporting me, does Shock Splice make it?
Get out of there,
Maybe,
Shock.
maybe not. I don't know. But boom, Shock's down.
Dying like crazy.
Okay, Shock Splice gets back up though.
Prize in it for the most reses.
He's back from the ashes. Force himself to stand tall. The front line is shifting again.
No, don't, no. Oh, come on.
Man, did Guyve die?
Thing.
I missed that.
Prize.
Yeah, look, Guy. Yeah, okay.
Dude, we're dying like crazy.
All right, so Shock Splice got up. Then Guyve got smoked. Yeah, there goes Guyve. Boom. Down goes Guyve. It's just bloody. Another link in the chain goes down.
For the most reses.
All right, so I'm getting back up. Nate's getting buffed. Guyve's back up. Unaffected again. Now, while we're back here, guess what?
Oh, come on.
Shock Splice down again. Down again. See what I'm saying? So we're back here like support buffing each other, teleporting out resin, and the front line is getting massacred. Shock Splice is down again. That was his 6th fall of the mission, 8th of the trials. I mean, he's become a symbol of relentless defense and its cost. Like, all right, we're back on our feet. Guyve, Nate, Frisson. I'm not even doing anything. I'm freaking getting blasted anyway. It doesn't even matter. I think we don't have aggro control anymore. Arc Fusion can only hold so many guys up there. So Shock Splice left a hole. The enemy sees it. They surge through. I'm trying to get into position. I just catch the focus of their fire. Bam, down he goes. 5th of the mission, 12th of these trials. Wasn't a misplay. It wasn't aggression. It was just the wall I was behind crumbled. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
This is effing crazy, dude.
All right, the front's broken. Nate's running for his life. Shock's trying to get up again. I don't even think if he dies here, I don't think I even count it. No, I'm not even going to count that against Shock. Arc's retreating. Guyve is resume. There goes Arc Fusion. Down he goes. Okay, Frisson, Nate, down, Shock Splice, down, up, Arc Fusion's alone. And I don't know if this is what he did or not, but I think he realized, hey, he can't hold that line forever, so he does the next best thing. He runs. And I don't think he's trying to flee. I think he's trying to pull people away, maybe buy us more time. And the 801s, they just chase him down. Beam rifles, sonic blast, detonation after detonation. They caught him, they cooked him. And he falls for the 2nd time in the mission, just as Nate and Shock Splice are getting back. So, coincidence, calculated sacrifice, I don't know, but it works. Boom. So at this point, we come together and get a kill box set up. Like, I'm like, just bring it back in here in this little nook where we were hiding and rezzing. So at least I took an elevated position. Let these guys get down there tight.
All these guys.
Now can I hit them? There we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hit them. Boom. Everything start pounding these guys.
Right down the rotation.
Start pumping it into them.
Off me, bitch.
So we're using this res area as a kill box, higher ground, narrow sight lines, tight angles. We got control,
No. Get off me.
but they overrun the high ground.
They took the high ground, guys.
Boom. We just start pumping away.
Oh, shit. No, no. Get away from me. God damn, pets.
This is why I don't want to be like down tight like this. Just too crazy.
Oh, shit. We're disintegrating. Get out of there.
Too crazy.
All right. I know you're in passive mode. Let's get you back in defense. Come on. Stay with me, Augur. All right, fine.
All right, so we start blasting the rest of that side mission or side room.
And protect me.
We
Pop a matic action.
head down towards the final intersection.
Kathy's not going to take the blame for this one.
So there's the objective rooms. Only one left. I'm just popping up and down behind the stupid barrels, crates, boxes, whatever.
I'm going to start playing tricky now.
This is what it's come to. I can only pop up and down, otherwise get killed.
Matic action.
Last group, I think, is here.
This has got to be the last room, right? All right, come on, come on, come on. Back. Oh, shit. Those
Hey,
things.
check it out. Check it out. Another freaking bush. See? Just when you think you got it,
Come on. Back.
boom. There they are. We're using this perfect setup here. Pulling them from the T intersection around the corner, dropping them like crazy, annihilating these guys. But this enemy never gives all of itself away. So as we're pulling, the worst thing happens. Ambush. Last card played perfectly by these 801s. From behind, they hit us. Reserve wave surges forward. I'm the first one who sees it. My warning shout echoes through the chamber, and then I'm gone. Nate's trying to reposition and respond. He's gunned down seconds later. 6 deaths apiece this mission. The 801 isn't rewarding our cleverness. It's testing resolve. And the test wasn't over. Even as we're thinking, we got this.
Fucking bush.
Boom. There I go.
Come on.
Nate's trying to get me out of there.
My God.
Nate's down.
Where am I? All right, I can get my ass up. You guys stay there.
Okay, we had to retreat.
Dude, stop fucking shooting me. Hit him. Hit him some more. Ah. Get in there. Get in there, reverb. Do something. Don't come back to me. Get in there.
Stupid pet.
Fucking moron.
Yeah, I'm not too.
Stop shooting me.
I'm not thrilled with this pet.
I mean, I cannot stick my head out for more than 5 seconds.
Shock Splice is getting pumped. I've got him buffed. He's got adrenaline. He's got fortitude. Throwing heals on him.
Stop shooting me.
I'm still getting roasted every time I stick out.
Get off my ass.
Notice like Reverberant's not doing anything because I can't attack. Because I have to buff. Shock Splice goes down. So reeling from this ambush, we fall back to the one place where, we had victory. This side room. Shock Splice, Arc Fusion, setting up the line. Nate, Frisson, we're coming back from the brink again. We're rejoining the fight. For minutes, we're fighting. We're clawing our way towards control. And every second is costing health, endurance, hope. And then Shock Splice down again. 7th defeat of this mission. 9th overall. There may be no soul in 801, more bruised than poor shock splice trying to be, the big tank. But there's no doubt who bought the team. It's every second of survival. That was him. He just kept getting roasted for it. Sticking his face in there. Just firing everything I got. Bam, bam.
The shock dude.
Finally, we clear this frickin' ambush. So every time you think you got this, it's got you.
Yeah, come to the POAE and have some mode, guys.
All right, so go back to the polling. Get this last group cleaned up. We got this.
No, 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 don't kill me. Don't kill me.
Oh, frickin' down you go again. Like, I didn't know it hit me.
Hit him?
Okay, we've got the pull. We've got the taunt.
No, 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 don't kill me. Don't kill me.
Something just unloads.
Oh, frickin' Jesus.
Down I go again.
I just gonna stand in the corner.
It looks safe, right? I stepped out. It's safe. We got taunts. We got
You guys are getting more,
we got tanks.
more buff points than I am.
Pump away, some debuff, some control. I don't get a second chance beyond that. I get obliterated again. 7th death this mission. 14th in the trials. I mean, danger's never over for Frisson. It's just waiting for him to trust that it is. Brutal, brutal, brutal. And that was the last death of Mission 3. And the end of Mission 3. Freaking assassination, guys. It was freaking disgusting. All right, so that's as much as the videos I want to rewatch at this point. Freaking massacres. You can see 7 deaths, Mission 3. I got 3 more coming up in Mission 4, which only goes about 18 minutes. I died 17 total times. And when you look at allies, it was just as ugly. 8, then 17, then 10, 35 total deaths. We topped out at 52 team defeats. Just horrific. So what I want to do now, kind of wrap this up, is I'm not going to go through each of the stats here. What I do want to do, though, is look at the stats from Frisson compared to the other controllers I've run so far, because I think there's some good information in here. So let's take a look at this last bit of information. All right, so let's dive into the statistics on this run. So as I said, ran 4 total missions, and we took 100 total minutes to complete them. The last mission 4, 18 minutes. There's a team wipe there. It's clean. 5 out of 5 were taken down. I already know who my teammates were. I already talked about the stats that I'm looking at. Calculate some rates, composites, doing some correlation studies. I'm not going to get into every single one of those because I want to just focus on how Frisson here compared to the other controllers. I don't have Ank's data yet to compare that, so I'm going to just talk about controllers only. And the most important metric is going to be empathy versus cold domination, because those are the 2 that ran the 801s. The other 5 controllers you see, they only did the level 54 times 8 kind of standard stuff, so kind of take it with a grain of salt. Although I did have Kathy do some estimations on how the 2 would compare, the original DEFCON 5 and the DEFCON Aftermath. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this. So here we go. You're seeing empathy is on the far right in this yellow color. And the first stat we're looking at is survivability. This is personal defeats. So how many times you were defeated. And the rate is then per minute. And so what I did is I took the total number of missions, the defeats that were suffered, and then divided each one by the time of the mission, and then averaged those all together. And that is what you're seeing here. These are the averages, average number of defeats per minute. So personal defeats per minute. And clear as day, you can see empathy had the highest personal defeat per minute rate of any of the controllers tested. The next closest was cold domination here in red, and that was about half as many. All the original DEFCON 5s were much lower than that. Now, this isn't, again, a perfect apples to apples scenario, right? We've got DEFCON 5, which is level 54 times 8. And then we've got the Aftermath run here. These are the 801s. Now, exactly how much harder 801s are versus those, I can't give you a hard number. But Kathy did make some estimations based upon cold domination compared to the other original DEFCONs, which I'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, when you look at this, don't get super, oh my God, empathy is terrible, because these DEFCON 5s would certainly be higher numbers if they were running in the 801s as well. All right, so with that in mind, we look at the average numbers, and the peak of the graph is the average. But then we also see the error bars. That's those I-beam looking lines you see there, and those are the range of the data insofar as the average could be anywhere within this region. And so then what we do is we take a look at that area and we look for overlap with the adjacent controllers. And if there is overlap, like you see here, there's a little bit of overlap, then statistically speaking, we would not be able to say that they are different. So the average for cold fits within the average of empathy. But everybody else, as you can see, they either have very small numbers or 0. So these two are significantly less survivable for the controllers than the original ones. Again, though, that's 801 versus 54 times 8. Then we look at the composites. I think this is a little more interesting data because you're looking at the clustering of the data from the various missions. And so we take a look at what these box and whisker plots are showing you. Again, we have empathy in the yellow, and the X's that you see in each one of these X's is the mean. That's the average. Okay, that's the middle. And then you have the line is the median. Okay. All right, so if you were to average the 4 different composites, you would get the X number. If you were to take the middle, you would get the line over here. So what's important then is also looking at those plus the dots. The dots represent the individual numbers from one of the missions. So one of the missions had a composite just under 0.05. Another mission had a composite just over 0.04. And then the upper and lower are telling you where the outlying ranges would be as well. So you've got another data point of one of the missions would be where the bars are. And these are kind of like the error bars like you saw up here, giving you the range of the outlying data. And so when we take a look at these more holistically, I guess would be a good way to kind of put it, you can see most of the data for empathy is clustering around here. There was one outlying mission where it was very low. That would have been the original mission where there were 0 personal defeats. But all the other missions, you had multiple defeats suffered by Frisson. So that's why you see this clustering here. So this data, for the most part, is up here. That's kind of the important region to look at when you're trying to compare these box and whiskers to each other. You can see here with Shimmer's data from the cold domination, most of her data is clustering down in this region. and she had an outlier in the other direction. She was very safe until there was her last mission, mission 4, where it was not safe, and it was like she had a bunch of defeats, and the team had a bunch of defeats, and it really skewed the numbers up that way. And then these original numbers are all very clustered and very low. So again, if you kind of look at it in that scheme of, hey, where's the data clustering, you can see again that empathy is much less survivable than the other ones. This is just a better visualization perhaps than what these are showing you up here, which are just the raw averages. This is showing where the data is clustering, where the distributions lie. Is there any outlying weirdo data that skews things? So anyway, you take that all together. Bottom line, Frisson remains last in personal survivability, even when you adjust for content difficulty. And so what Kathy did is she looked at the raw data from all the different controllers and estimated, I believe the number was 3.55 times. So in other words, if you took the original DEFCON 5 data and adjusted it by this multiplier of difficulty, that would be roughly equivalent to the 801 challenge insofar as survivability. So if you took these guys' numbers and multiplied it by this, you would get numbers more reminiscent of what you're seeing with cold and empathy. But even if you did that, they still would be lower than what empathy would be. So long story short, empathy has the lowest survivability of the 7 tested support sets for a controller at this point, at least one paired with Symphony. Now, I don't know if that's going to be true for every possible control set, but it was true here. And so the environment can certainly account for some of that difference, but the overall standing for Frisson, especially if you look at just cold versus empathy, which has identical scenarios, it shows that weakness in survivability. It's intrinsic to this build, this set, this combination. So hey, why is that? What's the story? What's the reason? We can speculate, but likely it's one or more of these. So you got plus this compounded by the 801s. So you've got the build is being exposed. You have to play a pretty aggressive control play style, right? You have to attack with those cones, and it's going to catch you aggro. His build has moderate defenses outside of some of the smash lethal. He doesn't have great defenses to the other things like elemental damage types or some of the positional defenses. So even though maybe he can dodge some standard stuff you'd find at 54 times 8, the 801s have more exotic damage types, plus some debuffs on top of that. He also doesn't have any panic big survival. He doesn't have hibernate as an example. He doesn't have any way to get himself out of trouble at a click of a button. And his support set is ally focused, right? It's a buff set. It's not focusing on keeping himself alive other than a couple of powers. So when you take a look at all those factors, throw it into the 801 blender, it doesn't surprise me that he's struggling to survive compared to the other controllers. Now, the thought was hopefully the Symphony would overcome that, but it didn't. All right, then we take a look at risk. Risk is the measurement of ally defeats. So how risky is it for your allies? What is their death rate per minute? So when we take a look at that, it's actually interesting because empathy, even though it's not really survival on its for itself, it's better than what you see with cold domination. So cold domination actually had higher risk for allies than the empathy set, which is really kind of weird because you figure, the shields and stuff are keeping people safer, but that's not the case. However, again though, we have to take that with a grain of salt because especially if you look at it in the composite data, because mission 4, when I ran Shimmer and Cold, there was a huge outlying data point. We were very safe the first 3 missions, but then the last mission, boom, huge spike of defeats, personal and team. And you can see that because the rest of the data, right, it's all clustering down low, very similar to what you saw with the original DEFCON 5 group. It's not until you get that one mission really throws it off. And especially because I only have 4 total missions. So that 1/4 of his missions being really awful skews the hell out of this data, and it makes it look like, wow, that's terrible. So I don't think this is real. I think this is more artifact of an outlier. And so if you kind of look at it with that lens, you can see that empathy actually is one of the top riskiest of the sets. Again, though, this is 801, and so 801 in general is going to be riskier. So the question is, hey, what happens if you were to scale these older missions by the 801 difficulty adjustment? Would that make a difference or not? And of course, it's going to. It's going to bring those numbers up. And exactly where it ends up is, of course, depends on your perspective. But if you just kind of use cold as your metric, it's about 2.5 times higher. Sorry, that was with the personal defeats. With risk, it moves everybody up slightly, but overall, it's pretty safe. So if you were to take these dudes and bump them up by whatever 801 factor, they're all going to be pretty close to what you're seeing with empathy. It's going to be on par with stuff like electric kinetics for sure, slightly better than cold. Maybe traps is up there. Time seems to be the safest overall for teammates. So empathy, for all that you saw for defeats, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Now, my question, of course, is how much of that was masked by the junior healing that you got from both Guyve and Nate, right? Because they both had heals and reses and stuff. So, they were assisting with this ally protection. Now, the reses don't matter, but it's, more the healing. I don't know how often they were healing other people besides me. But if they were, it's kind of like having another half, supporter out there. So that's where, I don't know how trustworthy this data is as a pure look at empathy, a pure look at Frisson in this particular scenario. But, you can't dismiss that, because how many times did I have allies with potential healing powers in all of these other tests from the DEFCON 5? I'm sure it's not the only time I had it. Now, this may be the most extreme case of it, but it's not the only case of it. So ultimately, when I crunch all the numbers together from all the controllers, that's when we're going to see something or not see something, as the case may be. But the issue, of course, is going to be, can I combine this data? Because I'm going to have 3 more 801 controllers to go with this. Are these going to be apples and oranges, or can I get a little adjustment factor in here? I'm going to have to wait and see how reliable that is as I get more data from these 801s. But I have some data here to look at, give me something to consider. So bottom line, as far as risk goes, Frisson's actually near the top in ally protection when you adjust it for content difficulty, really close to where nature would be in projected terms. So nature was a very safe combo. And his toolkit excels at rescuing and sustaining teammates. I mean, fortitude, adrenaline boost, the heals. It's definitely saving and helping allies, even though it's leaving him personally vulnerable. And that reinforces the picture that empathy and Symphony, this combo, it's a team first support package. And it's capable of keeping others standing when lesser sustained sets would see the team collapse. Because this is one of the things with cold, if you remember I talked about this in that analysis, was that it's proactive, right? You throw on some shields. But then I was telling you guys that at certain points, the shields weren't enough. And when they failed hard. And cold had no backup plan. There was no heal. There was no way to save somebody, right? You couldn't throw another shield on them because it didn't matter. So very proactive, where empathy is very reactive. If somebody's taken a big hit, you can react to that and bring them back, save them, that kind of thing, or throw fortitude on them if they didn't have it on them already. And that's where it was able to kind of bring somebody back from the brink. Now, of course, it had no proactive tools really, so it kind of put the onus on you to react in time. And so I would imagine that if you could find a support set that is somewhere between these two, that has some heals, has some proactive shielding, like maybe thermal, that comes to mind. That might be a great set to test that theory. You got the spot heals like empathy, and you've got the proactive shields like cold. Maybe that would be a much more superior supporting set. I'm not testing thermal in this round, but something to think about in the future. With outlier context, Frisson isn't dramatically outperforming Cold, the other 801 controller, because there was that weirdo mission in Cold. They're roughly equal in most missions, but he's just being more consistent from what we're seeing. So even though there were more deaths here, it was a consistent number. So he was, restraining. There wasn't like with Cold where there was nothing else, and bam, he went off. He fell off a cliff. Here, he was steadily increasing from the get-go, but you kind of knew what you're going to get. And so that steadiness keeps the team in the fight even when he's personally dropping. So even though he's dead, his, fortitude's still out there, the adrenaline boost is out there, the regeneration, the recovery auras are still pinging away. So it's reliable safety net in high variance environments like the 801s. I just don't think I'd bring that as my first choice. All right, our next category stat is resilience. This is your damage taken. So how much damage you're taking per minute. We take a look at empathy. Now here's where things get interesting. Empathy is one of the highest incoming damage per minute. The only other ones that were equal or worse were electric and traps. Now in this scenario of damage incoming, we don't see this discrepancy between the 801s and the original 54 times 8. And so we're trying to figure out, well, why is there an adjustment factor with defeats, but not with the damage incoming? You would think, hey, as the 801s get harder, shouldn't there be more damage incoming? And I think that is kind of true, but the damage incoming you're taking doesn't change whether you're on a 54 times 8 versus an 801. And the reason for that is this, that a boss on the 54-8 is a boss on the 801, right? It's the same coding. It's the same, whatever the number that is that the game uses. Same thing, an elite boss here is going to do the same amount of damage as an elite boss here. So these numbers are not going to change. What's different in the 801s is the volume of these guys. So you have more bosses attacking you, more EBs attacking you than you do have over here. But you have mitigation in place that is lowering that incoming damage, and it's fairly uniform, right? I mean, you're going to be taking 50% less damage because you have 50% damage resistance. It doesn't matter as far as who's attacking you. The big difference that's leading towards the deaths, though, is the spiking of the damage, because what the 801s are doing is they're flooding suddenly the mob with a whole bunch of these guys, whereas in a 54 times 8 you'd have more of a pyramid distribution of enemies, right? You'd have minions and lieutenants, then bosses, and then EBs, whereas this is all just, boom, bosses, or boom, EBs, or maybe it's, a 50-50 mix type of thing. Or, the pyramid is much tighter between some lieutenants, some bosses, EBs. So it's the design itself is a little bit responsible for this, I guess. So anyway, we don't see that same level of adjustment factor that you had with the defeats. So these numbers, I think, are fairly accurate. You're still seeing the same number of foes attacking you as you would see in the original DEFCON 5. It's just that they might pack a little bit more punch, but you also have the same or stronger mitigation tools in place because you have all your incarnates on the table with the entire team. And we can see that that's supported, that these numbers are real without the fudge factor looking at distribution data, right? We see clustering of the data. There's really no major outliers anywhere. So empathy is pretty consistent. It's very consistent with traps and electrical. So it's not one of the best resilient sets out there. You're taking a bunch of damage per minute relative to everybody else. So bottom line, Frisson's among the top 3 raw damage taken per minute, showing that the set's lack of passive mitigation combined with a control style that invites exposure puts him in the firing line. And while he's not as unstable as, let's say, electric or traps and the swinginess of it, he does have a high R squared correlation. That means extended combat, the length of the mission, magnifies that pressure, that incoming damage, and potentially bleeding resources over the course of the 801. So if you're taking damage consistently over and over and over again, you kind of get, all it takes is one little extra spike and it breaks through. So the absence of that multiplier here confirms that the 801 challenge is hurting him because of burst lethality rather than just attritional DPS. So his main defensive weakness is just this spike intolerance, I guess might be a better way of thinking about it, rather than pressure management. So the difficulty in those 801s is because of that spikiness, spike lethality. It's not necessarily that the pressure of the DPS is getting higher. So the deaths, self and allies will scale because you're going to have much more spike, spike, spike in an 801, whereas, you know, your standard 54 times 8 missions are more like this, more steady. So you're going to have these areas of, you know, not much versus areas of huge spiking. And that's when the deaths are happening. Another thing is when a death happens, you're not taking the damage anymore. So that's another reason why I think the damage DPS is not scaling up with the 801s. Like you're dead, you don't get damaged anymore. And another thing that you can kind of throw out there is that this damage that's coming in isn't necessarily at you, it's at your tanks. So what would really be interesting is looking at a tank's damage spiking from a 54 times 8 to the 801, because I imagine they're the reason why, you know, like they're taking this huge chunk of damage up here, whereas you're still maintaining that steady pace down here. I'm pretty confident there's an explanation in there that is the reason why, but eventually there are spikes of damage, an ambush, a blastic AoE, something like that that goes through the tank, and you take that extra oomph that puts you over the top and takes you out. That's likely what's going on there. All right, lethality measurement. This is your ability to defeat enemies. And here's another powerful story. Check out empathy. The lowest of the bunch, weakest of the bunch, whereas cold, actually cold is this red one here, not green. It's right here. It was one of the highest ones. So both these are 801s, but cold was really like putting out a bunch of, I don't say damage per se, but it was dropping a lot of bodies. So empathy was not. So now, hey, is empathy just not putting out a lot of damage? That's not necessarily the case. It just means you're not getting the kill shots. And I think that's just that combination with Symphony was not allowing a lot of kills because you're throwing out your cone waves of, you know, little tickly DOT attacks from your controls, and then empathy's not adding anything to that. Your empathy is only boosting your allies, their ability to kill. So you're not able to help yourself in any way, shape, or form. I think the rest of these sets have typically some debuff in them that's going to help you take an enemy down faster, some more than others. Like cold has lots of debuffery that can help you kill. So empathy is kind of behind the curve as far as the ability to take out enemies goes, and it's clear here. It's, again, I mean, you can see from the error bar, there's nobody else that's even really close. And again, we don't see any sort of fudge factor here, any sort of difficulty adjustment because the amount of damage needed to take out a boss is the same regardless of what mission you're on, or elite boss is the same, and you have the same number of targets. It's not like the mob sizes are getting bigger in the 801s. There's just that spikiness of their arrival, the ambushes, the big blast from a elite boss, something like that. So it still takes the same amount of damage to defeat them, and just other people are getting the kills. We look at the composite data. This is reinforcing that the distribution, empathy's data is all clustering down here. These other groups are very tightly clustered, but they're all clustering above it. The only one with a little bit of outline data is nature. You have a couple, really high data points and a couple really low ones, but the average is pretty close. So it's looking pretty interesting that empathy's down in the bottom as far as the ability to take an enemy out. So Frisson's low output is structural. Empathy lacks any direct offense. Symphony and Ice, the combination there of his other power sets, they skew more towards steady control rather than big hit kills, right? More DOT, that kind of thing. In Cold's top tier lethality, the Shimmer's build, it's genuine and likely understated by the average due to that one short mission. Because that's the other thing about it, is that Cold's actually skewed low because that final mission you didn't get a lot of enemy defeats. Had that mission foregone longer, Cold would have been up here more in a rivaling nature. So this is not misleading in any choice or in any way, shape, or form. So this 801 Cold is like a top dog, would have been even higher. This 801 Empathy's a sleeping dog. So I think we can look at the original DEFCON 5s, and we don't need to have any sort of fudge factor to correct for anything here. Threat. So this is the damage output. Again, this is some interesting information because check out Empathy. It's contradictory to what we just saw here. So here we see low kill rates, but here in the threat, we're actually seeing some decent damage output. My Symphony Empathy 3825. It's middle of the pack, right? There's 3 that are above it and 3 that are below it. So this guy is putting out a decent chunk of damage, average amount. Should be in the middle of the pack. He's just not getting the kills. Again, we don't need any sort of fudge factor because the damage output that you do in a 54-8 is the same damage output you're going to put out in with that same build in your 801. So there's no difference here that's going to need any sort of adjustment. And then we take a look here at the composites. Again, very tight data spread for everybody except for nature. Big old outlier here. But all these guys are pretty lockstep with each other. Very tight, very close. So the Symphony Empathy combo is not some chump that can't do damage. He was doing damage. But I think the problem, and you put this together with the foe defeats, is that you didn't get the pet output that the other builds were able to get because Reverberant, who's your 100% uptime pet, is dormant a lot. It's dormant whenever you're in buff mode because it only attacks if you attack, and if you're busy healing, fortitude, adrenaline, healing some more, holding back your attacks because you don't want to over aggro with your cones, your pet is just sitting there doing nothing, even if you have it on aggressive. So I think you're seeing lower than normal controller damage despite having all those cone attacks because you just weren't getting the mileage out of your pet. And on top of that, Empathy doesn't have any way to self-buff damage or debuff enemy to make them easier to kill or take more damage. So I think if you had a way to get your reverb more engaged in combat, then this number would go up. Presumably. Or maybe a different mastery set might help too. Bottom line on threat. So output of damage for controllers, that's a build fingerprint. It's not some sort of barometer of difficulty. The 801s aren't going to slow anybody's damage output. Sets that have strong, consistent pet pressure, like, the Cold, Jack Frost. When I had my kinetics was combined with Earth Control, you had Stony, traps had illusion, right? Those pets were out there banging away, and they were getting buffed. They were getting the enemies being debuffed. They can just go to town and do damage, regardless of what the mission was. The empathy sympathy combo in the middle of the pack, steady output with the cone attacks, but you don't have the empathy tools to boost you up any higher. You're feeding the team's kill engine, steady, reliable DPS and control, but you're not having the closing kill abilities. And if you look at that 801 environment, survival, not the damage output, that's the real limiter of these stats. So builds that can keep themselves and their pets alive, because I face planted a whole bunch. Reverberant was being defeated a whole bunch. So when I was out, or when I was having to hold back, that's where I was losing my threat. All right, last big stat here is the efficiency numbers. This is the ratio between output and input damage for the controllers. And I think this is probably one of the best metrics out there, because it kind of mixes everything together, your offensive and defensive abilities in one place here. And you can see empathy is in the bottom, half or lower. Only electrical did worse, and time was pretty close. This is my gravity time. And this, I think, had very low incoming damage, but the output damage was not screaming hot. Whereas nature, this was my, what was that, dark nature? That was just a damage machine, and I barely got scratched. So, depending on the different combos, you're going to see different ratios. But empathy combined with symphony was not a very efficient combination. You were doing some decent output damage, but you were taking some decent input damage, and so it wasn't great in any one area. And you look at the overlap, it's pretty consistent with traps, pretty consistent with time. Only cold, kinetics, and nature are really outdoing it. The rest of these are overlapping. Then the other metric graph I have here is the contribution of the pets. Now here, this is a huge story, I think. Maybe the biggest story right there. If you look at all the other controllers, and this is more than just an 801 issue, because the 801s explain here, I think, for cold domination, why controllers who are normally averaging 40, 7% roughly on average pet damage in the original DEFCON 5 suddenly dropped off 15% or so in the 801 with cold. And then another 801, empathy, is only half of what cold was doing. So this is telling me it's not just an 801 issue. This is a symphony control, a symphony reverberant pet issue. Why is that pet not doing more damage? And I don't just have reverberant, I have the other two lore pets. And lore pets are pretty consistent across the archetypes and the power sets. It's really the control set pet. So Symphony's pet just wasn't doing a lot of damage. And I think it's because, again, that passive nature that it has. When you're not, if you're not aggressively attacking, your pet's not doing anything. It's just sitting there taking a lumping. I don't know why it's designed that way. I would like to see it at least retaliates with something if it gets hit. But if you literally don't attack, it won't do anything, even though it's getting pounded from what I saw. So this pet was not doing a lot of damage. And because of that, the damage output of Frisson was not very high. And because his damage output wasn't as high as it should have been, his foe defeats weren't as high as they should have been. And if he wasn't defeating the foes as much or as fast as he should have been, like these other controllers, then it makes sense that he's going to be taking more damage. He's going to be dying more, and his allies are going to be dying more. So he was just not getting the offensive output from his pet that he needed. And that's seen here in the ratio, the efficiency ratio, and the pet contribution. So bottom line here, Frisson's strong raw damage output isn't translating into kills because his efficiency is capped by high personal exposure and a reactive post-hit sustain, right? He's got to heal after the fact. In other words, he can trade blows effectively, but can't convert that trade into decisive wins the way the mitigation heavy or the pet heavy sets from the other controllers could. So he's got solid DPS on paper, but the lowest lethality in practice. Too much of his output is offset by the damage he has to absorb in order to deliver it. So he's got to take a hit that he's then got to spend time healing before he can start firing back. And he's got to wait to attack until the tank's got things under control because he's fragile and because his cones are so overreaching. And his pet is waiting for him to do stuff. So it just kind of compounds itself. And Reverberant's performance is inherently tethered to Frisson's own attack uptime. In a build where healing and control are frequently prioritized over sustained offense, the pet simply can't match the independent, always-on contribution of other controllers' pets. Full stop. So, bottom line. Frisson is a high engagement, high drama support controller whose performance lives and dies by the player's ability to maintain offensive uptime without neglecting team sustain. So you need to balance those two. You got to be able to attack offensively, but not ignore your teammates and watch them all die. He's not a steady suppressor like cold domination, like nature was. He's not a pure aggressor like traps and kinetics. Instead, he's thriving in these volatile, momentum-driven play where this timely heal, well-placed control can flip the script and swing things. In optimal hands, and I don't even know if I'm really good with this guy, you got to be really fast with your empaths, reactive. He's going to deliver these memorable clutch plays, high tempo support, and he's going to feel impactful and rewarding. I didn't get that sense at all. I felt like I was door sitting most of the time. In spike heavy, sustained pressure scenarios, that reactive sustain model he uses, it's going to get overwhelmed. And you're going to reveal his fragility and the limits of his pet's damage tether, which is what I think you saw. Well, there you go. That is the end of our reaction analysis for Frisson Sensate's 801 trials. Lots of data there, lots of information. I just scratched the surface with that. Once I have Onks numbers, I'll go a little bit deeper. And once I have all the DEFCONs, I'll go even deeper than that. But there you go. That's what I saw. That's what happened. That's what I got to say. Got any questions, let me know. Throw it down in the comments below. In the meantime, Eversource is a good one. I'm going to get myself ready for Onks tests in another day or so. And I'll see you during those. Have a good one. Take care.